Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Tuesday the 24th of September. So looking at the euro dollar, and well, it really is just drifting its way lower. You see the trend line here, see the lower highs, lower lows. It looks bearish still. It's, I don't know, it's sitting there. It's got the weekly pivot still untouched above, which makes me wonder if we will come back into sort of zone. I was talking on the big picture, I believe that a lot of these markets have just sort of everything's sort of priced in and nothing seems to have a major phase on the markets anymore, but we'll see. So whilst the euro and the zone is very weak, well, the euro's holding up better than maybe expected. But any rallies, maybe there's a chance that weekly pivot. Otherwise, really just look for the downside. It's not the easiest to see, but I've just drawn a simple trend line here on the 60-minute euro. I drew it yesterday, but to be fair, it was not really tradable because we was waiting for news, and it looks great after the event. But in this particular case, the news was bearish. I mean, it could have been predicted as being bearish, but that would have been second guessing the market. Dangerous thing to do. But it did roll over. Didn't roll over massively in the end. Did get a bit oversold on the 4-hour lease, which used my inflection point indicator, which may still have held back, and it may still have a bit more upside yet, and that weekly pivot could come into zone from that, or the daily R1 today potentially. So being a bit cautious at the moment. Just looking at the news actually coming out this morning, and key news then is really this morning would be this bit of news here. The German business climate, it below 100, it's sort of not particularly good, and anything that's less than 94 may just show how soft the situation is there in Germany. We've seen from yesterday's data how poor the numbers came out in terms of manufacturing PMI, the biggest move down for a long time. So and into contraction mode. So it'll be interesting to see what this number comes out like, and that may just give a bit of a kicker. So watch out for that at 9 o'clock. 3 o'clock this afternoon, US consumer confidence. It's not a big mover. It's got red. It's red on here. Well, the more important numbers are not always sitting there, but maybe we'll get a bit of a kicker. But just bear that in mind. Okay. So moving on. From here, that's the euro cable. Daily point of view here first. Looking a bit iffy. I was still looking at overall as a sort of bigger picture for further upside, but and for this month we're already almost into the R3 now. These do not get broken that frequently, but maybe it's got a chance of a bit more of a reversal at some point here. But realistically, it looks like well. Drawing the 60-minute, I've drawn the trend line across the lows there. If post 8 o'clock it starts rolling over, well, S1 could be in scope. That's the pound. Dollar yen. Dollar yen. Now this is strengthened and continued strengthening a little bit through yesterday, finding some support maybe off the daily 21 there. We'll see if that can hold. I wonder at the moment, as it could be a bit more strengthening. It's sort of going against the fundamental weakness, but it's possibly money just to safety, and we're seeing this for the end. So I've just drawn the trend line again. It's really sort of a wedge between that 50 MA and the trend line I've drawn here. A break to the upside could see it pulling back towards that weekly pivot. If it continues to push off south here, look for yesterday's lows and that S1 there, maybe the S1. So maybe a continued strengthening there. It's been going counter its usual movement, i.e. it's been rallying with the euro and selling with the euro. So it's quite counter to what it normally goes, which suggests it's a move that's driven by risk. Aussie dollar, well the Aussie dollar, well still looking weak on this 60 minutes. Look on the dailies here. Little pip up yesterday. We've still got a weekly pivot above which could draw it up at some stage. but really I'm just looking at a trend line, in my imaginary trend line that's drawn across the bottom of these 4 hourlies. It's run back into that 4 hourly 21, had a reaction, looks soft at the moment, and fundamentally it's still got a sort of a weakness there, so we could just see further breakdown. The thing is that if you're looking to try and intraday trade this, the ranges are pretty tight. Yes, it may suddenly get a bit of a zipper on and start trending, and that's really what you need, but it may end up as a bit of a swing, so beware. Canadian dollar, that's all I can say about the Canadian dollar. Didn't really go too far when the oil crisis was sort of or the crisis in Saudi oil fields, I should say. It got a bit of traction from that, but then gave up, and it's just sitting there chopping along. It chopped along for most of the last month. It's chopping along again this month, and it's just horrible old days there. In terms of the choppiness, have just come down to the 60-minute. Well, you could argue some of it sort of semi-trend during the daytime, but yeah, I don't really like it. And today, well, it could just bounce back up here into the daily pivot. It's not many pips there though. 73, where we see, okay, 11 pips. Back to the daily pivot, about 20-ish. Back to the R1, so it may just stay within range. Yesterday's highs there, we're sitting at 64, so about 35 pips there. Back up to yesterday's highs. Potential, but not necessarily one I'd particularly want to get into. That is pretty much it. I've given you the news. I wish you a great day, and I'll speak to you in the morning. Bye for now.